Professor Kaveh Madani, I turn to you next.
Thank you.
We had a chance to share the room together in the United Nations in New York a few days ago when the UNU report on water bankruptcy was released. And it really stayed with me, Professor Madani. I left the United Nations thinking, wow, multilateralism, there's like something, we have a real problem. There's a declining sense that that is our way forward. And I wondered if you could share with us a bit about this gap between this huge ambition, so much knowledge on water and gender equality. We discussed it in the launch session as well. And yet the political will, we need it to advance. And I'd love it if you could share with us some reflection on this and how you will take this message from the room today forward and how we as well can support your work.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for joining us during the launch and being a voice for not only this valuable network, but the rest of those who are active in this space and know the value of it and the necessity of gender inclusivity. It's two things. It's very hard to answer your question, but also very hard to take the floor after your talk, Pedro. I think it's good to talk about what we heard today and the diversity of beliefs, but that the point diversity that we want to embrace might also be a response to why we cannot move forward, because we are very diverse in our societies, in the stages of development, in our problems. And it's very hard to come up with narratives that are inclusive and move everyone. And I think that's something to be mindful of. Yes, there is knowledge, but there is also a big shortage of knowledge. Yes, there is data, but there is no way that what we have is sufficient and inclusive. And I think that's something that's very important. We heard about the importance of working with the indigenous community, working with different groups, capturing their knowledge and bringing things together. We also heard about the value of science, but it doesn't that in those, I would say, engagements we have it all. I think it's one thing that at least we're trying with the academic hub is to ensure that also scientists learn from these processes, because scientists also often come to the table, return disappointed, thinking that we can, the world stops at the UN Water Conference 2026. And that's not the case, or at, in different COPs. So I think it's the issue. If we want to create that mission and ensure that there is action, we also have to be mindful of what's happening around the world, why we have all these changes and shifts in politics, why we live in a fragmented world. We can't sit there and get disappointed, but we can also have reflections on what is happening and what we need to change if we want to pursue a meaningful path and an impactful path. I think based on what we heard today, to strengthen knowledge and data institutions. Yes, failures of institutions to embrace data and use knowledge, but let's not think or be delusional. I think is very clear that there is a diversity of problems around the world. The problems of water are not the problems of the global south anymore. They're everywhere, but they're very diverse. And the solution to one location might actually be a cause of problem to another location. And if it's very hard in that environment to come up with something. Although I think the report that is very sobering also concludes that water is one of the at the moment might have the potential to agree on, because it speaks the language of left and right, conservatives and liberals, Republicans and Democrats, and also South and North, to integrate diverse knowledge systems, as we heard today. And we also need action. And in all of these, we have examples, successful examples that you all talked about. And of course, we have challenges at every level. at the local level and indigenous level, but also at transboundary levels. Those are real, and those are at our session we had intervention from a country, and 2 days after we received all these messages from another country that thought like the narrative delivered by one country was against the interest of another country, while both are concerned about water. These concerns are real, and the academic scientific language, advocacy language is helpful, but would not address those concerns. And I think we need to change that. But as we heard, we cannot manage what we cannot measure. We cannot manage what we don't quantify. We can transparency to the systems that are not transparent to begin with if the data is not there. And for all of those, we need to bring all these pieces together. And of course, governance requires inclusivity of gender, inclusivity of voices, inclusivity of different power groups and different stakeholders. And I think that's something that you are showing by action. And that's something that makes us proud of being a member and also being a supporter of this network, because it's not theoretical talk. You're there where you need to be, and you're delivering, you're contributing to processes by showing examples, by coming up with solutions, by not being disappointed and just blaming the system, but being part of the process and trying hard. And I think that's something that we need to do together. And this session and all the things we heard today assures me that we are powerful. We just have to also play games differently and be ready for doing things differently in a world that we live in today.
Thank you very much, Professor Madani.